I've traveled to over 80 countries. I've lived in 4 or 5 different countries. I lived in Okinawa, Japan for 4.5 years. I lived in Africa. I've lived in India. I lived in all parts of Asia. I've lived in Caribbean islands. And so having the ability to have traveled and lived in other countries and to experience their food compared to here, and to experience their healthcare system compared to here, and to experience their culture compared to here, when you come back to America, you start to understand what you didn't understand beforehand. Before, it was just part of the culture. It's just part of, this is how we do things here. But what I'm learning is that our culture here has been hijacked. It's been hijacked by not only the system, but it's been hijacked by those who are above the system, who are controlling and puppeting those people who are creating the policies, the regulations, the laws, the agencies that are essentially creating how we eat, that are determining what food is available, that is determining how much we work, and that is determining, what we're being exposed to on a daily basis. And for that reason, this is why, I'm saying that these systems are creating dis-ease in America. Now, let me say this before I get started, because being in the position that I am now, and having reclaimed my health to the level that I've reclaimed my health, as you guys know, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure at the age of 16. And I lived with it for over a decade until I came into the realization of what true healing was instead of treatment. And what I can tell you is this, is that at this point in my journey, I understand the importance of taking ownership. I understand the importance of not only having knowledge, but the application of knowledge, because that's a true measure of power. It's not knowledge, because we live in the age of information. People literally could go to their phones and get information that 10,000 years ago in Egypt, you would literally have to be in a sacred society to get. And so we live in the age of information. Knowledge isn't being, kept secret. Knowledge isn't, listen, 2,000 years ago, even less, you were persecuted for having certain knowledge. If you were to go back a couple of 1,000 years ago, and you were to say the world is not flat, if you were to say that, then you could be hung, jailed, and even stoned. Okay? So today there are similar things, like I constantly get censored. A lot of times people never see my content, but we're not getting stoned and jailed for being able to attain knowledge. You can simply go to your device, go and punch in whatever it is you want to learn about, whether it be chess, whether it be about botany and the study of plants, whether it be the study of plant medicine, how to grow food. There's absolutely no limitation on what you can learn today. So I realized that there is an important factor called taking ownership. But it's important to know and understand most people have been programmed out of the ability to even know that they need to take ownership for anything. And as a result of that, this is why we're sick today. Okay. Now, what I will say is this. I'm in a very unique position because I've been on both sides of the grass. I started out in healthcare. I've been in healthcare. I know I don't look like it, but I've been in healthcare for over 20 years. Over 20 years. That's over 2 decades. Okay. And with that being said, I have seen things in healthcare that now, looking back with the perspective I have now, I understand them very differently. And working in the hospital as a clinician, working for the FDA and learning that process and seeing other healthcare systems in place and experiencing those modalities and treatments that are used for simple things like high blood pressure, and navigating I've never seen anybody healed. Okay. Again, there's a huge difference between treatment and healing. Treatment, it means that you have to take whatever it is for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean doesn't matter if it's a high blood pressure medication, diabetes medication. It doesn't matter if you're taking something for male pattern baldness. Most people, when you stop taking the medication, guess what? It stops working. As soon as you stop taking it, the blood pressure skyrockets. As soon as you stop taking it, your blood sugars go through the roof. As soon as you stop taking it, your hair starts falling out again. Okay, that's not healing. That's treatment. Okay, and treatment puts you in a position where you have to be a customer for the rest of your life. And that was the perception that I had walking into healthcare, was that was healing. I give you this medication, it removes the symptoms, and you're healed. That was my perception of it. But what I started to realize working in the hospital as a clinician was that people were having strokes and heart attacks every day. And even though they were taking the exact medications that they needed to take, that they were prescribed, they were taking them the right way, they were taking them the right times of day, they still were having heart attacks and strokes. Most people who have a heart attack and stroke are on medication when they have the heart attack or stroke. Most people who have, issues, around autoimmune diseases, around cancer, most of them are on medication when they have an episode. And so what I realized was that is not healing. That's treatment. And treatment is this false idea that we've been sold by the system, that been sold as healing, when we're actually selling ourselves short of what healing truly is. And the other thing that I want to mention is that healing can only come from you and nature, and you are nature. That's the only place healing comes from. Because in modern medicine, the only thing they do in modern medicine is to manipulate. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's a drug or surgery. Okay? If you remove your gallbladder with surgery, you have not corrected the issue. You're going to have issues down the line. Okay? Whether it be issues with your vision. I've seen people go blind after removing their gallbladder. Whether it be developing type 2 diabetes. Okay? And a whole host of other things, digestive issues, and the list goes on and on. So even the surgeries that we're having today, they're only addressing the symptoms. They're never addressing the cause. Okay? If you had tumors in your body, and I'm not here to say if you got tumors that are riddled through a portion of your liver, to not have that portion of your liver removed, because the beautiful thing is you can lose up to 2/3 of your liver and still regenerate your liver to 100%. So I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is not you removing that portion of your liver is not going to stop cancer from coming back. If you remove full fibroids through the ablation process, okay, through the surgery, okay, just because you remove the fibroids, it does not mean they're going to come back. I've seen it come back every time. And so that's the important emphasis I want to make to everybody before we jump into this, is that you have to understand the importance of, there's a huge difference between treatment and healing. And this system that we're in is designed to keep you sick, to keep you unhappy, and to keep you overweight. And this system isn't just one part. Each part of the system feeds each other. From the outside looking in, they're in total cahoots. Okay, so that's why, and when I explain it, you'll see a little bit more about what I'm talking about. So let's just get into it. The number one part of the system is, take a look at our government for just a second. All right. The whole purpose of government, and I think this is what people often forget, is not to govern us necessarily. The whole purpose of the system is to govern the needs of the people. okay, to govern the needs of the people, because when you think about it, at the end of the day, the money that is causing the government to be able to function is the money that is coming from the people, okay? But when you start to think about the policies, the regulations, the ability of companies to lobby politicians, as a matter of fact, that should be illegal. For politicians to receive any money from companies should be illegal. And why should it be illegal? Because when they receive money, it's almost an incentive in most cases. Okay? So when you think about the major companies in America, food companies, drug companies, agrochemical companies, okay? When you start to think about these major companies, they're not in business to make healthy food. Because when you make healthy food, again, like, anybody can make healthy food. You can walk out in your backyard and start growing healthy food. All right? They're not in the business to make healthy food. They're in the business to make food that lasts long on the shelf, okay? That makes people addicted to it, okay? And it is cheap, okay? So when these companies are going to our government officials and lobbying them to allow packets of ketchup to be considered a vegetable in our kids' school, that is lobbying for certain amounts of certain kind of chemicals to be put in food, that are lobbying for a certain amount of sugar to be added to things that's not illegal, okay? When they're doing this, it's creating a system that basically says it's okay for you to intoxicate my people, okay?